What is going on, people? How are the things with the people? Wow, I go to this file. It's been a freaking week since we shipped a beta, but I guess I've been doing lots of other things. But dude, time flies. I was like, oh, it hasn't been that long. It's been a week. It's been a freaking week. It's been a week. I could use a warm drink. The question is, do I make a delicious chai like we discovered yesterday with a little milk in it? Yeah, I know. It's September. The fact that it's September is crazy. I turned 20 in 2 months. That's nuts. Okay, I'm going to start making some tea, and then we'll see what we can fix on the compiler fix list. My impression is that I have some bugs in the mailbag, but none of them are like horrible. So we'll see. Can I recommend a book about building compilers? Not really. I don't know of any good books about building compilers, unfortunately. I was going to write one. I actually started one on stream, and that's been on pause for a while just because I've just had so many freaking things to do. But, you know, we have about 10 pages of material, 15 pages of a book. Did I try to fix the erroneous polymorphism error? Maybe we look at that one now. If I haven't, I suspect I haven't done that one yet because I would have replied to you saying it's fixed. The LCC one is decent. Possibly, yeah. I mean, that's very old at this point, so it's hard to say how relevant it is to the modern world, but I never read it, so I can't say. All right, let me start on the tea, and I'll be back in a second. Any compiler questions while I make the tea? Where is my teapot? No questions still. Mm. Mm. Oh, the teapot's over at the chai cam. Did I never turn off the frickin' chai cam? Oh no, it's off. Here's where the teapot is. It's right there. We just never did that. You're skimming through the Project Oberon book. I have that book, but I've never really read it. Is there like good information in there, or is it just historical? And a macro for the is constant function. How does it work exactly? Does it return whether or not the variable change at runtime? What do you mean in a... What? No. That's not what is constant is. There's a very, in this language, there's a very clear idea of what is constant and what is not. And is constant just tells you if something is in that constant category or not. It's not making any prediction about whether there are assignment statements or anything. It's not like that. Okay. We'll give that a steeping for a few minutes. Do we have pointers? Yes. Does const t pointer... No, there's no const. There's no const. We might do something like const later, but it's not clear how to do it in a way that's actually good. The C++ way is a mess that doesn't really help anyone. All right, so implicit cast from pointer to void, not allowed on polymorphic functions. That's weird. There's just, bugs, like, they pile up a little bit. Oh, I was working on this several days ago. There's some stuff with polymorphism that I was working on that I'm not done with. Right. So that's maybe a thing to do tonight. I kind of want to do some little or easy ones. Oh, there's this code directive problem. That one got handled. Location and macro. Let's do this one. This one bothers me. And then we'll do polymorphism a little later after we're warmed up. The T, what about the T? Yes, there's T. The idea was to create a custom printf format parser macro that will parse the format string at compile time only if the format string can't be modified at runtime. I mean, you could do that, but there's only if it can't be modified. No, that's not a thing. But you can tell if they actually passed a constant string or not. Right? You can't tell if they're just going to happen to not modify some runtime string, but if they pass you a constant string like people usually do, you can tell, yeah. If the input is from RO data, no, I mean, just the compiler knows what constants are. So you can ask, is this argument a constant or not? Like that's not hard. What is wrong with constant C++? It doesn't do anything. Constant C++ is only for type checking, but not even type checking that you can do anything with, because it can be casted away at any time legally. It doesn't get translated into assembly as anything. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Is const makes you write two versions of every function. And then it interacts with some other feature that also makes you write two versions of every function. Now you have to write four versions of every function. Then that interacts with some other feature. Now you have to write 8 versions of every function. Okay. WTF. So this code is apparently pretty messed up. Let me rebuild the compiler. I did update it. Let's close this out. Oh, I guess I did that. All right, so of course I didn't really check. Okay, so this says 4478 when this is a macro. And it says 3333 when it's not a macro. That is the right answer. So something about it being a macro is causing these all to come out different. And the weird thing is the fact that it's 4, 4, so 4, 4, 7, 8. I mean, this is kind of silly. So let's just do that. So 4, 6, 7. These should all be the same. So these, okay, I see what's happening. I see what's happening. It should be easy. Okay, GG's. Let me pour the tea. Got a little too much liquid in there, so we're going to get some out. Oh wait, I forgot the steps. Okay. What's going on is so right now when you do a macro or when you have a polymorphic function or something, the way that we do that is by copying the whole function internally, which isn't honestly the best thing to do, but doing that better is sort of a longer term compiler restructuring question. And what's happening is we're probably just not copying the location directive correctly. So if I go to the syntax tree, whoops, we have a location directive, and that has an identifier that you could be asking the location of. And I bet we just don't copy that identifier. Because if this is null, then it refers to the location of itself, which would give us the value. So the place to look for this is in, copier, right? And then we look in location. Hey, look, I didn't copy the identifier. GG's. See? It's the Feynman method. You write down the problem, you think really hard, you write down the solution. That's the real Feynman method. And it's very effective. I mean, that was very easy compared to the kind of things that Feynman applied the Feynman method to, but it just goes to show you it has applicability in programming. Okay. I mean, we'll run the test just to make sure that it didn't break stuff, but it didn't. Fixed location Okay, that's great. That, you know, if they were all that easy, I would be a much happier person. Fixed in the next beta. Boom. That one looked really mysterious to me when I first saw it, but like, oh, yeah, okay. No, this is totally easy. Similar yet different from the previous report. Wait. I mean, let me see. Data S, struct R, sin T. We'll look at this one. This might be fixed in my local copy. Hold on. Let's commit. Let's commit. I'll just paste the message. Pasting. Oh, you know what? We should definitely make a repro for that before committing. Okay, hold on. Sometimes I get lazy and don't do that. All right, so we're going to go. Okay, so here we're going to have this, and we're going to say that's sufficient to test it right there. We don't call it. I was like, I don't see the output. Because we don't call it, dude. Location test. Boom. Excellent. Okay, let's just run the tests again. What do I think about a way to remove a variable from scope explicitly? I have thought about it. Because sometimes you do want to say, this variable is garbage now, right? Now, the thing that I wonder is, like, sometimes when I'm programming, I feel like I would like to do that, but realistically speaking, I feel like the number of bugs that I've had because of that is low. But that might just be because I have a lot of experience at dealing with it. So I'm not sure what to think about that. Like, adding an entire feature that doesn't really do anything but make you feel snug sounds like it's a little too heavyweight. That said, I would like to think about that because maybe there's some kind of slightly broader, more powerful feature that, I don't know, suggests a family of stuff that could be done. Think of it more like a documentation hint. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do think it is pretty weird that, no, I mean, I understand why we haven't done that in these languages, but it's a really good idea to do, to de-scope things, right? Yeah, I would like to investigate the idea to see where it leads. Like, I feel like if I just do the simple dumb version of it, it's maybe not that good. But like, thinking about it, maybe we could come up with some cool stuff. Okay, now I'm going to commit the thing. Boom. Okay. Next, let's look at this bug report. Oh, I hadn't copied it over yet. Type wanted, data S, type given, pointer to void. Guess what? Pointer to void is supposed to implicitly cast to anything. So why isn't it? And I fixed something related to this before, but I don't even remember what it was, because it was like, guys, I do so many different things in 1 week. Stuff just doesn't stay in my brain. Maybe it's also because I'm turning 20 soon and I don't remember. But like, I totally fixed something just like this, and I forget now even what was the cause. I could look through source control if I really want. Let's maybe do that as a reminder. Okay. Machine flags, gamepad. Fix some bugs with polymorphism and overloads. I think it maybe was this one. No, because that wasn't about bool. I don't even remember which one of these it was. Okay, it was after this stuff. I don't know. You know what? I think it might have been in here. Let's just look at this. Like, this is so simple. Line. Like, what? Okay, it's probably, yeah, okay. It's probably that this struct is not ready yet. That's what it was last time, I think. Is like a type check was failing because this polymorphic, oh shit, no. I see. Okay, this is actually illegal, is what's going on. This code is illegal. It's just that the error message is bad. Looking into why. Okay. So the reason it's illegal is because this is a polymorphic struct, right? So this wants to be given something that tells us what this type is, right? And a void pointer doesn't do that. So there's just not enough information to do this. So it might just be that we can tell at the site where we give this error message and say something better. And I suspect that this is one of these things where we used to give a better error message, and then I changed some stuff internally about how this kind of construction is internally represented to be hopefully cleaner. And that then resulted in this not being as good, right? Okay. So we already have breakpoints on these. I don't see any other polymorphism problems. So maybe they scrolled way off my mail. Or maybe I actually fixed it. And didn't reply. Okay. Does it work if you make the argument data S64? I mean, probably, yeah. It should, but that's not the issue. Okay, wanted in given string, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Okay. So there is supposed to be something around here. Okay. If you're given void, yeah, so these are the same. So we actually went through this code and didn't get it, right? So I think this would be the right place to put it. And what's going to go on is this is I mean, we could just check for this and give a better error message up here. All right. 1407. Let me check when we set this. Yeah. Okay, so we just try to give a good error message here. We say, if we're not doing silent check, we say report error. Like, so much of the type checking code is just trying to give good error messages, really. I should actually add up how much it is sometime. It would be a lot. Report error, site, and sometimes I need to come up with terms to help explain these things. This can't pass a void here because the callee type, because the argument type, the required type is a polymorphic expression that needs arguments supplied. That needs arguments that would be supplied by matching the types. Pointer to void doesn't provide the necessary information, so we can't turn this into a concrete type. For info, this thing, here is the here is the struct. We'll say struct here. Here is the struct whose arguments are not being supplied. Right? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that is fine. We got to make sure that this doesn't spuriously happen for other stuff. It shouldn't. Can't imagine why it would, but it's a computer, so we'll see. Okay, 2 bugs down though, hopefully. Provide a better error message when supplying for a polymorphic struct argument. That is written in auto poly form. I need to come up with some term for this. I mean, maybe auto poly, but I want to get rid of the term polymorphic anyway. But like, we need to be able to say what that is to tell people about it. Look, we're starting to get enough value to send to the people here, by the way. I mean, these are all small, individual small values, but they add up. They add up. Oh, the enum thing. That's a big enough value for the people. Okay, language semantic change may be incoming. Who was on Twitch saying to me about polymorphic stuff? Because I don't see a polymorphism thing apart from a different one that I know wasn't from you. So maybe I fixed it. If you want to ping me really fast with the bug again. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Is it easy for you to just reply to that email and bring it to the top so I can see where it is? I feel like maybe I fixed it, but who knows? I did do some polymorph stuff that came from someone else. And it's unclear if that was related or not. Close that. All right. Since I use Gmail, it'll probably take 27 minutes. Any questions about what we've been doing or about computer technologies in general? How's it going, everybody? Shouldn't that be compilers can compile themselves? No. This compiler can't compile itself. Send. Okay, cool. I'll wait about a minute before I check to give Gmail some latency time. This chai juice was pretty good. We have not really nailed down the calling convention yet. I would like it to be simple because I mean, we still have bugs dealing even with C calling convention. It's complicated enough. So keeping the calling convention simple, I think, is important. It's just there's a few things that remain to be seen. So, for example, one thing that we might do is say, hey, the call stack and the data stack are different, right? Like that's good for security. It makes your program slightly slower, but like probably not in a way that matters on modern CPUs. So, you know, the issue with that is that you sort of lose that security calling into C. But maybe that's fine. I don't know. How do you store stuff with long-term without cosmic rays messing everything up? I assume you saw that Veritasium video about the cosmic rays. It was pretty amusing. Did you have any opinions, experience with effect systems? I don't know what that is. It sounds like more nonsense made up lately. Resumable customizable hooks for exceptions. I don't use exceptions. I think exceptions are nonsense. So anything on top of exceptions that makes them even more complicated is also nonsense. Like exceptions are, you know how like people say the TSA at the airport is security theater, right? Because it's all about looking like you're doing a certain thing rather than being effective at the thing. Exceptions are like program correctness theater, right? You actually make your program more complicated and less correct, but you feel like you're making it more correct. Exceptions are job security. Well, that's true. The problem is it's a security in a miserable job where you're dealing with exception handling all the time. Okay. I don't see this. Maybe it's in my main. Oh, it went into the wrong. No, I don't know. Gmail is not making sense to me right now because it's flagged for my language folder, but it's not showing up at the, after you made this reply, it is not showing up at the top of my language folder, but it is toward the top of my inbox, but it's flagged language. So I don't have any idea what's going on. Okay, this is still starred, so I haven't fixed it. Okay, let's take a look at this though. I feel like I might have incident. Okay, hold on. One thing at a time. Let's check this in. So that we don't cross the streams. Yeah, this one, I'm glad you were here to bump this because it's kind of an old bug report at this point. I mean, we have about 80 or 85 bug reports in the backlog. But, you know, most of them, I like to hit them relatively soon so that they don't backlog like that. But this one's like 3 weeks plus old. So that's, I mean, it's, you mentioned beta 75 in it, which was a while ago, beta wise, right? I don't like for bugs to hang around that long. So let's see if it actually still exists, or because sometimes we just have multiple people report the same thing in different ways and it gets fixed. I'm going to hope that's true here, but it probably isn't. It's probably still there. Let's see. Oh, non-polymorphic structs cannot have polymorphic data members. The type of this polymorphic member is, I mean, this is probably not helpful. But whatever. We'll just leave that part for now. Non-polymorphic structs cannot have polymorphic data members. here is the non-polymorphic struct. While generating a polymorph of this struct, it was triggered here. While generating a polymorph of this, it was triggered here. Okay, so this is just in the declaration of the function. So this might be hard, it might be easy, honestly. Yeah, we're going to have to look. So I assume, so we have an intermediate type, an internal type called polyuse, which is like when you use a polymorphic expression, which is what this should be evaluating to. So like f in this header, it's some kind of foo. We don't know exactly what because we don't know t, right? So f dot t here should be evaluating to polyuse. Now the problem is, I think we're trying to polymorph bar with polyuse in one of the slots, which, I mean, I'm sure we do that though. Like, that happens a lot. So I don't know why it would not be handled correctly in this case. So we're just going to have to look. But anyway, though, if you so polyuse is itself polymorphic, right? So then if you supply polyuse as a parameter to bar and actually make a bar out of it, then this becomes polyuse, this becomes polyuse, and then that. Now, maybe the solution is just to say, hey, this is polyuse. We shouldn't be actually trying to polymorph the struct because we know that we don't know the type. That seems like a reasonable solution. However, it's a complicated compiler, and when you do something like that, maybe something explodes because you needed something to happen. So that's why, you know, this could be 15 minutes. It could be 30 hours. But it's time to look at it for sure. So the first thing I want to do is just break on this and just make sure that it's polyuse. Make sure that because sometimes I say all that stuff and then it turns out that's not even what was happening. I mean, I think what happened is probably we've been polymorphing those structs all along. There definitely was a point in time when I intended to polymorph things with polyuse as the argument. If I don't do that, does type matching get screwed up in some way? And I don't actually know because it's complicated. Originally, it would have because the way I was representing everything was different, but now it might be fine to not polymorph the things. All right, so here, I bet defen is polyuse, right? Yes. So this gives me relatively high confidence that what I said is the thing. So a simple workaround to this is to ignore polyuse here. Now, I don't necessarily want that to be the real solution, but let's just see if that fixes it. I think it does. So, you know, this is one of these things too, where if we want to ship a beta tonight, oh, now we have circular dependencies. Great. Are there actually circular dependencies? Why does our circular dependency error not always tell us anything anymore? Okay, so this returns bar of f dot t. Right. So this version that's being explicit about the things works. That kind of skeeves me out a little bit. You know, I bet what's happening here, I don't actually know. You know what let's do? Let's look at what happens when we polymorph bar in both of these cases and what the argument is. Because I would guess that it was polyuse in both of these cases. But this case, it's possible that we pass something different, or it's possible I don't know. I kind of want to see. So how do we do this? We can go to polymorph. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to this thing. We'll comment this out for now. We go to polymorph. Like, I guess we do it here. That's probably not quite right. Dude, my shift key habits are not good now. Okay. Okay. Is that the only time? Yes. All right. So we get here and our proposal has one thing in it. Oh, geez. That's a declaration. It's got an expression, and I bet that's polyuse, right? Yes, so 4B8 C890, 4B8 C890. So we're polymorphing this thing with polyuse as the argument. Now, what about when we change to this one that works? What do we do there? Okay. See, we don't even get here. Interesting. So we're detecting the situation earlier. And the deal is it just looks different in this other case, so we're not detecting it correctly in this case. That's actually a relief to me. That means it's probably not a 40-hour or 30-hour bug. Because we just have to figure out what Chunky's deal is here and apply it here. We just have to figure out what Chunky's deal is. There might be some more possible minification. Sorry, I didn't see that comment. This is fine. This is totally fine. Like, especially, this was really helpful, this having these two. Where one works and one doesn't, and they're supposed to be equivalent. That's really helpful. Temo Prairie? Did I make a Temo Prairie? Temo Prairie. Okay. So let's go at this from the other direction. I want to say, what happens when we infer procedure call? Because this looks like a procedure call, right? Even though it's a struct instantiation, right? So we can look at that. Wait, what? Call is not, what? What? How is this not? There's call colon right there. Maybe the search settings are weird. Now it's finding lots of... All right. So we figure out the... I feel like I've gone too far. Okay, we're just going to say, okay, this figures out, we're going to go here. So this call would be on the line number 9. No. No, just literally no. How about here? Now that's on line 9. Okay, wait, we get here. What? Okay, hold on. Am I too far down in procedure call? Did we... I'm really confused about why that didn't trip. Okay, well, here's what we do. We trace back. Oh, shoot, I deleted the breakpoint. We need that 333. Whoops. We need the threes. Breakpoint back. Because, okay, this happens when we make this poly. And, well, we'll find out where that gets made. How does the sausage get made, please? Your Nan says never divide by 0. That's good advice. Okay. What are we doing now? What are we doing now? We're seeing, where does this get made? Infer types for struct instantiation procedure call. Okay. Like, this is right. Oh, I didn't see this. Right. Okay. Our breakpoint was down here. All right. Duh. Sometimes I look at the code and I don't really look at the code. Okay, so, because I was like looking for the part. Okay, hold on. Let's get rid of this breakpoint. Okay, so now let's just see what happens. This is the version that works. So we get the proc. We know what type we're trying to instantiate. That's great. We know it's oh. Okay, well, we're not ready for that yet, but we should come back later. There we go. And actually we could sort of go down here and set our breakpoint down here, which will keep us from having to step through all these things. We're checking the arguments. Okay, so now that whole struct is ready to go. And then we're making a polymorph. We sort the arguments. And we do the... I'm surprised that we're even making a polymorph for this, but okay. So we push and flatten the polymorph. So all right. No, not there. There. Okay, so we make that. Then we come here. This is still the version that works. If it's a struct, we're checking some of the same redundant stuff that we checked. It's got no modify directives. And then we go into here, okay. Really? I didn't, wait, what? Oh no, this is the version that doesn't work. That's why I was so confused. Because I was like, why are we doing all this stuff? I thought I had convinced myself that the one that worked wasn't doing all this stuff. And it's like, oh, I changed the source code back. Okay. Question, did I put a breakpoint in the right place? Like, my theory is we never make the polymorph for the one that works. Like, I think we never do this. I think we do something else. Or sorry, not even that. I think we never do this stuff. Okay. So here we go, call L0 is 9. All right, so again, okay, so we're there. That's our breakpoint. We get there twice because we yielded once. Then we maybe get there, and then we get there. Okay, so what if we do this one that works? What happens? Okay. Make sure it's the right place. Call, load, info, short name. Yes. Okay, so we yielded. No surprise. Okay. We make a polymorph still. Okay. I mean, I'm a little surprised, but okay. Oh, we don't set the location info on it. Is it the same serial? I don't think it is. Oh, it is. No, it's BC9 instead of BCC. So we're going to set this up for both of these. We're going to say if it's BCC or BC9. All right. So now it's going to be BC9. Yep. Okay, well, what's going on? It's a struct. I mean, we do all this stuff. I'm a little surprised, but okay. We call solve for matches. Wait, what? Oh, hold on. Let's look at the code. Oh, that's type, right. So, yes, I get it. So we are not looping, so we go to solver non-looping, which is great because that's the simple one. So type wanted is not polymorphic. So we continue. Now we have our matches. I could check here that Okay, we don't have any default values, so we're going to go through here without incident, prepping for bake. Okay, so this is a struct. Arg type. That's going to be type, right? Wait, no. What is this? Defines okay. This is the difference between these two cases, probably. We could run the other case up till here, but the other case would pass polyuse. This passes defines constants block entry because it's a little bit different. So here, this is a little bit weird that we're putting this in the matches. I don't know. I don't know why we're quite doing this. This looks a little bit like I have this note here that I was porting this from old code and didn't totally understand how it related to the new situation. Anyway, so we add a match. Okay. So we have a bake in there. That is guaranteed at this point going to be different from what we get in the other case. So when I do a polymorph from this, what happens? There's no modifies. So the value bakes, just to make sure, I'm pretty sure I know what's in there, but there's, whoops, value bakes. It's one thing. It's got the identifier T. The source is, so what's going on is we're saying, we're matching this argument, which is called T. And it's a little confusing because this is also called T. But the binding, the expression is going to be a type definition that says defines constants block entry for T. And that's the part, like, honestly, we probably shouldn't be doing that way. We probably should have been intercepting this earlier. So here's a scope entry, identifier T. I actually don't really like that, but this is the version that works, which means sometimes things are wrong, but they look fine because things kind of worked. And I think that's what we're looking at here. So I think the idea that I could just fix the other thing, there's no modify directives. Let's just see back here. So we return the final proposal. And here we do the polymorph. See, this is another thing that came from the old struct polymorph that should be catching the thing. Okay. I think this is in the wrong place now. Okay, the thing that I'm confused about, oh shit. I see what's going on here. Okay. All right. So this is involved. Now, if we go back to the one that doesn't work, right? Let's verify this is the one that doesn't work. You know how I said before that I read the code, but I don't read the code? Like right here, there's a fucking thing about handling polyuse right here. But this whole time I was like, where should we handle polyuse? It's right there. It doesn't work, however, because it didn't do the right thing. Okay, hold on. Let's make a function for this. I don't have such a thing. All right. So we can actually fix the reported bug, I think, very easily. Oh, no, okay. The problem is this is not a declaration because I'm dumb and I make bad choices internally to the compiler. So we have to do this. I believe that'll fix the problem we are observing. Oops. Okay. However, I don't like that other thing that was happening, and I don't think this is necessarily the right place for this test. I think this should be moved much earlier in the polymorph solve. So we're not going to just type this in and check it in. We're going to play with it and try to do better. There's so much code now, I just don't really read it, right? Like, see, on the one hand, that makes me really fast. Like, one guy who once upon a time was a friend of mine, I mean, this was really decades ago, but I just remember being infuriated by the very slow rate. Like, he would do check-ins, and when checking in, he would it's like he would get out a pair of tweezers and look over every code change that he's making very slowly. And I'm like, you just did this. You should know what you're fucking checking in. It's your code. It's not like you're going to break a build. He was working on a project of his own. You're not like breaking anything for a team. Just fucking go. And like, so frustrating, right? To me, it just looked like a way of procrastinating. So, I don't know. So I have my own way of doing things that is very effective sometimes, but does have drawbacks, right? If I had actually looked at that line, I would have been like, oh, why doesn't that work? It's like literally right before where I typed this. This didn't even exist. I typed it right after the thing that I was thinking about. So, yeah. Yeah, no check-in is very helpful. No check-in type setups, they're great. It's like static type checking, but for your source control, right? Um, how are those four yield coroutine looking things defined? They're not coroutines. Yield is literally defined as return false, and also just put this variable somewhere that helps with debugging. That's what yield does. Brains are designed to filter out as much as possible. Yeah, no, totally. However, you also want to get better at refining that filtering heuristic, right? So it's totally fine to miss stuff like this, but also just notice that you missed it, right? Feynman addendum. Well, I don't know what Feynman would say about that. That's something different. Coroutines are super convenient. I don't agree. I don't think they're a good idea. Okay. I kind of want another tea, but without caffeine this time. Um, let's run this on the test. It's quite possible that this might break something too. Whoops. Okay. We are going to do another tea flavor poll. However, the horrible strawberry oolong has been banned from the channel. In fact, it is in the compost bin. Manage poll. Ugh. Look at this. Look what happened. Look what you did to me. It's horrible. Horrible. Okay. New poll. Which tea? Question mark. I'm camel casing my teas so that they fit. Okay. You have 3 minutes to decide the fate of reality. Give it to the SF homeless. No, I am not that cruel. We need to solve the homeless problem, not give them strawberry oolong tea. You know what I'm saying? Not like they can't steal all the tea they want. Well, the people stealing all the stuff is not mostly homeless people. Like, there are occasionally a couple, like, I've definitely seen during my time, the number one way that homeless dudes who are taking a lot of drugs and crazy and stuff, the number one thing they do is go into coffee shops and steal from the tip jar. Or I saw one dude just the other day just went into Starbucks and grabbed a bunch of the biscottis and walked out. Starbucks employees are not allowed to do anything about homeless people at all. The people who you see on the videos, like stealing thousands of dollars from like Walgreens and like Neiman Marcus and stuff, those people aren't homeless. They're just trying to get some stuff to sell to make some money, right? That's like totally different, right? The homeless dudes are like stealing $7 from the tip jar. The dudes clearing out the Walgreens are like a whole different situation. All right. How are we doing? How are we doing? Oh, we're almost done with the tea timer. I should somehow get smart home things so that the timer is based on the temperature of the water. And as soon as it hits boiling, the time is done, right? But we're not that coordinated here. Okay, which tea? Poll ended. I'm going to view the results. Valerian Dream wins by a margin. You guys don't like lavender raspberry honeybush. All right, we'll do it. Now, this tea, I guess, is supposed to sort of put you to sleep. So if that happens, it's your fault. I'm just saying. Here we go. This is the winner right here. Guys, okay, I gotta tell you, we don't have smell cam technology, but I did not really like the way that tea smelled. I'm a little bit worried about this. I am a little bit worried. It's not that it smelled funky. It just smelled like something I am not going to enjoy. What was the cancel symbol called internally during development of the... What cancel symbol? Oh, I know what you mean. Eraser. Spoilers. So it says 5. Oh, this is the wrong one. Hold on. It says 5 minutes steep. It's already been a minute and a half. Honestly, I don't want to oversteep this one because, oh my gosh, it could be nasty. So we'll go at 8:04. You don't see anything on the list that should taste bad. Let's see. Ingredients are valerian root, cardamom, fennel, licorice root, strawberries. Oh, the strawberries ruined that other tea. No, they didn't actually. It was that the tea was bad. Spearmint, natural rose extract, rose petals, essential orange oil. Origin, multiple origin blend. I guess that's when you mix together a bunch of stuff like this, it has to be. Or are they talking about the actual tea? No, because there's no actual tea leaves in here because it's caffeine free. So I don't know. You want to see what else I got from Whole Foods? Whole Foods is finding new ways to sell me very small quantities of nuts or dried fruit. So now, for large amounts of money, right? So now they have cashews with salty lime coating, and they have cashews with cinnamon, which is awesome. Okay, I'm going to eat so many of these. So many cinnamon cashews. All right, how we doing? Got a minute and a half. I have already been fat version of me. I am reducing the fat these days successfully. I'm actually not sure how much I weighed when I was at my most fattest. I might have weighed as much as 215, but at least 210. At least 210. How many pull-ups are we up to? I'm back down to like 6 or 7 right now because I haven't been doing them. I'll do some tomorrow, though. Start building that up. All right, we got about 30 seconds. How much is a kilogram? That's like 2 pounds. The thing is, when you do fasting and stuff, part of the weight that you lose is water weight, but part of it isn't, right? So it's easy to overestimate. I don't like the way this smells. But anyway, for me, when I cut weight, I found a pretty reliable way to do it that I can do. It's not too harsh, right? Um, and I lose about 1.5 pounds a week. Uh, the problem is it just puts me in a really bad mood and it makes me kind of demotivated. So, for example, um, I did that today, right? I was on sort of my diet today was like 1,100, 1,200 calories. Um, and I figured out how to do that. It just makes me grumpy and it makes me like not work that hard on. But after dinner, it's fine. So like I had my like 420 calorie dinner, and now I'm in a good mood for the rest of the day. It's just like getting to like 5:30 p.m. and having dinner is rough. All right. 1.5 pounds a week is pretty fast. It is. Actually, I also figured out that if I do that several weeks in a row, I start getting really a little bit grumpy. And so then I taper off a little bit and then start again later. Um, but it's been working totally fine. Like I said, I was like at peak. I wasn't at my super fattest, but let's say like at the beginning of June, I was probably about 205, and now I'm like 192. So I'm 13 pounds down in less than 3 months. So that's about 1 pound a week average. Um, and that's with me taking breaks and all that. So that's not bad. How tall am I? 6 feet. I don't know if I'm going to want to drink this whole tea, guys. It's not like this tea does not offend my sensibilities and disgust me. It's just not something I want to drink. So it might get jettisoned as well. You'd rather exercise more than eat less. I agree. Oh, so here's my okay. So I also will say I have worries about the long-term effect of low-calorie diets on physique and health. So I'm not saying everybody go out and do this as a long-term thing. I'm just saying, look, for me, I was tired of being fat. I wanted to cut weight. I figured out the way of doing it that actually works for me, and it's going well. However, um, I I do feel low energy when doing it. Um, and I do feel like it would be damaging to my body to live like this, like permanently, right? Like I'm used to being like a robust dude who can like do rough things and it's fine. And I feel like if you did years of this, you wouldn't be that anymore, right? So, it is what it is. Just going protein heavy is easiest. I don't know. Like I tried that and I just ate the same amount, right? You're on a 1,400 calorie per day and you're losing about the same. You did it 1,200 a day for 4 or 5 months. Yeah, I'm not. So right now, like today I did like 1,100, 1,200, and tomorrow I'm just going to eat whatever I feel like, right? Um, so I only at most do it like every other day. Oh no, some days I do two in a row. Like if you're gonna burn like 1.5 pounds in a week, a pound is about 3,000 calories, right? So you need to be like 4,500 under, which that means I need to do 1,000 to 1,200 about 4 days a week to hit that, right? Um, so but like I said, average is about a pound a week. Lex did a 3-day fast and lost 10 pounds. A lot of that's water weight because you can't, like, okay, unless he was exercising like hell during that 3 days, which, right? So the thing is, I don't know how tall Lex is or what his BMI is, right? But like average calories per day of just regular everyday existing is supposed to be around 2,000. That's a population average, so a bigger dude is going to be higher than that, right? But a pound of fat is 3,000. So even if you're like 2,500, if you fast for 3 days and don't eat anything, that's 7,500 calories. That's 2.5 pounds. That's not 10 pounds, right? So the thing is, there's also a lot of variation in your weight that happens over time and all that stuff. So like, you don't lose really 10 pounds in 3 days. If he said that, he was mistaken. The only person who I do believe, okay, what's the dude's name? See, I'm blanking because I didn't eat enough calories today. David Goggins. David Goggins lost 2 pounds a day doing extreme crazy shit. That's probably the reasonable human limit. Like running all day, every day for a month, he lost like 2 pounds a day. David Goggins is not equal to reasonable. That's true. That is true. Yeah. So what I find is if I do restricted calorie diets once in a while, so like, I did lower amount of calories today. What I find is that my diet is kind of normalized on the next day in the sense that I eat more than I would today, but like I also kind of don't want to eat that much, right? So like something about the hunger gets reset and recalibrated, and I probably eat 2,000 or whatever my sustaining amount is, but it's fine. Like you don't want to be pushing yourself so hard that on your break days you just freak out and eat 17 strawberry shortcakes, right? Like that's totally counterproductive as well. Is there a goal to the calorie counting? It just has to be, all it is a way of restricting your diet in a way that's reproducible, right? Like, look, if you want to be less fat, you control how much intake, and how do you do that, right? Well, you know what you eat. Like if you just go to restaurants and they serve you some food, you don't know how much that is, right? You also don't gain linearly. Yeah, that's true as well, I think. Anyway, like I said, calorie restriction doesn't make me very happy. It makes me grumpy. It doesn't feel super healthy in the long term, but it's working very well in the short term. And so the plan is do it a bunch in the short term, get back down where I should be. So like I said, I'm like 192 right now. If I get to like 180, I'll still be probably a little chubby, but that's fine. And then try to sustain in that neighborhood, which might involve, again, calorie restricting once in a while, but not nearly as much as I am now. So that's the plan. I will say, back is not the only way to lose weight, right? So back when I was in the middle of, or actually a little bit after Braid shipped, when I was early working on The Witness, I was in the best shape of my life. I was doing very serious amounts of Kung Fu stuff. I weighed 172 at 6 feet tall. I think I weighed 167 at the optimal time at 6 feet tall. And like a lot of that was muscle. I was like the most muscly I've been in life, and weighed 167. So like very different shape than I am today. But the amount of exercise that was like really a lot. It's like way more than most people do, right? And so it's a little bit hard to maintain that is all. So yeah. Do I think I'd do Kung Fu again? I don't know. The problem that I personally had is I've had some neck problems in life that predate Kung Fu. I think I think I got them at an early age and or were born with them. And um, it just, once I put enough strain on my neck, bad things started to happen, which is why I stopped the Kung Fu. Like really bad things started to happen. And that's still never been completely fixed. And regardless of how many doctors I see about it, they like never really care enough to try to solve the problem, or physical therapists. So like, I kind of just have to live with that. And it prevents me from doing very high impact stuff like that. What kind of bad things? Like waking up in the morning and feeling like your arm's been detached and rotated 180 degrees and put back on. Or like, there was about a day and a half when either arm, this was weird because usually the effects were on the pinching nerves on the left-hand side, but I could not actually contract. If I tried to do this with my arms, I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring them past here. And like it hurt really bad to try to close them anymore. But it was a completely mental thing because there was like nothing physically going on with my arms. Like bad shit happened. If you ever find a good physical therapist, you let me know. Yeah. Like they, I went into the neck doctor and he did like nerve health. The thing where they shock you at various parts on your arm and your like fingers twitch. They did that and they said, well, there's a little bit of stuff, but thankfully none of it's irreversible. So that's been good. I think actually what happened is I think that I have calcium deposits on like C1 through C4. Um, and that because I think I broke some of them just myself, and they're not all gone. But my theory, so what we diagnosed by getting an MRI and stuff is that C4 through C7 had, a lot of herniation and stuff. And that was theoretically what was causing the problem. And, they tried to make me do posture exercises and stuff, but like it never helped. But like, I think I still have some restricted motion in C1 through 4, which is therefore causing the rest of my neck to do weird stuff to compensate, or like putting pressure on the lower part of my neck, which is causing these problems in the first place. And the thing is, to see calcium deposits, you need a CAT scan, and we never did one of those. So that's my theory about what's happening. It may not be correct. Reminding me I should do some neck stretches later. Have I ever had healing back pain? No. Did I deal with any symptoms still? Like it got hurt badly enough that it took years to heal. Like, okay, so here's the thing. It took like 3 or 4 years to 75% heal, and then another 3 or 4 years to like 90% heal. But then I would keep re-injuring myself. And the worst thing was I would wake up in the morning and my neck would hurt again. So like something in the night, just about sleeping, like re-injured my neck, right? And that's again also why I think it's like calcium deposits fucking with stuff. And so what I did was I worked on stretching a lot, right? And just feeling like how things are going. And I realized I was really tight sort of out here in front, right? As well as on the sides of the neck. And I stretched all that a lot. And I mean, I have years of practices about feeling what's going on with your body. So I'm probably just know more how to do that than I used to a long time ago. But what I eventually realized was, okay, I have a lot more mobility because I did all these stretches. Now just something feels wrong. Like something felt really wrong in my neck. So I actually, like, I started like pressing on it, like very directly, in a way that doctors should probably tell you never to do. And like, I think I broke a calcium deposit in there. Like I felt a pop and things immediately got better. And I've never re-injured myself sleeping since then. So, uh, that was fun. Gaining muscle increases your need for calories. That's true. I mean, like if you do a lot of exercise, you will get into great shape and lose weight for sure. Like, there's no question about that. It's just the amount of exercise that really takes, I think, is more than people expect when they think they're going to exercise and lose weight, right? Like, you have to really gain muscle for that to work. Like, if you just think you're going to run a little bit, twice a week and you're going to lose weight from that, you're probably not, because you're probably just going to eat food to compensate for the running, right? You do zero exercise and I'm always at 60. I mean, I was at a great body weight too until I turned like somewhere around 33, and then I started getting fat. That's just what happens. If you're under 30, don't bother saying how you're thin without doing anything, because of course you are if you're young. 20 push-ups before bed isn't enough. I wish. Weight loss is diet. I mean, that's not really true. Like, it is. So here's the thing. This is what I'm trying to say. There's some amount of exercise that is pretty high. If you're doing that much exercise, it doesn't matter what you eat. Like, when I was doing all this Kung Fu, I was having a hamburger and a milkshake like every day along with all other meals, right? And I was in amazing shape. It didn't matter. But if you do the amount of exercise that normal people think is exercising, then diet does matter. Okay? Because you're not, there's some region where your body is using all the food it can to build itself into something better all the time. And if you're there, just eat a lot, right? But if you're not there, you shouldn't eat a lot, right? But it's again where people oversimplify everything, right? So one thing that people say is, oh, you have to eat less to lose weight, no matter what, because if you exercise, your hunger will just compensate and have you eat more calories. And it's like, okay, I agree with that within this threshold of exercise that's less than what, for example, serious athletes do, or like what I never did what serious athletes do, but the amount of exercise I was doing is a lot more than I ever did any time in my life, right? So if you're doing less than that amount of exercise, then yes, you've got to drop calories to lose weight. But if you're doing that amount of exercise, it doesn't matter what you eat. Like I was, like I said, I started kind of getting chubby at like 33, 35. This time when I was in the best shape of my life doing Kung Fu, I was late 30s. Didn't matter because I was building all this muscle in all sorts of places, and like I could just eat as many hamburgers as I want. It was fine. Yeah. So like again, but it's not even about how many calories a day you're burning, really. Like that's the thing. It's like your body's in a different mode, right? So like people oversimplify it. I've heard all these people say exercise doesn't matter. You just have to cut calories. And it's like, no, like we don't have an epidemic of obese professional football/soccer players. I mean, European football when I say football, right? Or like we don't have obese Olympian track runners or whatever, right? And it's not because they're on calorie restricted diets. Like it's nonsense, right? So people just, they have to resist this urge to oversimplify. Like things are actually complicated. How did I get into Kung Fu? I just met a friend at one point who said she had taken Kung Fu classes and kind of liked it. And so when I came back to San Francisco, I decided to do that. Um, and it was pretty different from her thing, but it was fun. This talking point is merely for people who go jogging to lose weight, e.g., burn the kcals of 2 apples. I mean, I agree with that. 2 small apples. But I don't think oversimplifying things is helpful. It's not. Because you end up giving people a worldview that doesn't make sense. I think the thing that makes sense is to map out the entire thing, tell people, here's how it is. And then they could say, okay, I don't want to think about it, but where do I fall in this big picture? And then you give them a recommendation within that big picture. But I don't know, all these things. Like even, saying, oh, it's just calories in, calories out. You just have to burn more than... I mean, that's true, but it's so oversimplified that it's useless, kind of. Yeah. All right, let me get back to programming. Okay, what I want to do is go back to the poly proposal time. I want to try to do this check much earlier because it's less messy and it'll make the compiler faster, which is good. Because if we're going to do a whole polymorph, which is kind of it's one of the more expensive operations the compiler could do, and then we come back, or a whole polymorph solve, and then we come back and throw it away and say polyuse, we might as well have done that before the solve. That said, I kind of wonder if there are cases that could sneak in. If we solve on the front end, can a polyuse show up later? I don't actually know. So this is number 1, is to move the polyuse thing sooner. Number 2 is that other thing that was supposedly the working version was also whack. Like, that was not good. So we have to catch that as well. And I feel like that's caught for identifiers, but not DRA. I don't know. We need to look at that. Wild seeing crowd photos from the 50s and 60s. There are almost no fat people. Totally. I mean, again, like one of the movies I recommend that people watch is the Apollo 11 movie that came out a couple of years ago. For many reasons, but one of those, just look at the crowds in the movie and how they don't look as sickly and unhealthy as modern American crowds. It's only 50 years ago. The internet made people fat? No, I think it started before that. HFCS and soy, maybe. I mean, I think there's probably, I don't know. I don't actually know. Thoughts on China? No, I don't care about what's going on in China. I don't know anything about it, really, I should say. Like, for me to weigh in on the consequences of something happening in China, I would have to live there for a while, like for 5 to 10 years, right? So because I haven't and because that's unlikely, I'm just not going to ever say anything because I don't know about it. I will say, so on the one hand, I'm American, so I kind of don't like over restrictive government. On the other hand, our society is falling apart. And I look at this kind of thing as steps to prevent their society from falling apart. Whether those are actually good steps or not, you can have an opinion about, but you can see what they're trying to do. And we probably could use something like that here, although it would be much better if it's voluntary, right? Can we develop something voluntary that results in something besides President Camacho 20 years from now? I don't know. How's the tea? It's not that good. I don't like it. I'm going to dump it. But it's not that bad because I've drank almost the whole thing. President Camacho was an innovative and powerful leader. Well, that's great. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to no check in this for now. Actually, no, let's not even do that yet. We're going to tag it here so that we don't forget to come back to it. Bag it and tag it. But what I want to do is move this earlier. I want to move this to here. And I want to say, okay, this is the procedure version. Let's just do the struct version. I'm going to put a no check in here. Oh, no, that's not for procedures. Okay. And that's looping work proposal, which is a different. Okay, so this is actually the only one. Never mind. So step one is to look at these value bakes. I don't remember if this is the right member to check. Oh. This might be a hard... I'm just looking at what we expect. All right. So I think if we just do this and we'll see. What's going on? 8720. Okay. That still compiles. Let's go to our no check-in here and just take this out now. Does it still compile? Maybe. I think it maybe does. Yes. Let's do all the tests. There's actually a decent probability that something breaks here, but maybe it doesn't. Can I close? Oh, I left the chai cam open. So terrible. Sorry. All right. Let's see about Soko ban. Seems good. Okay. That's great. Now, I guess I'm going to delete this. Actually, let me put a note here. We used to have a check here for poly use, but moved that earlier. There's an outstanding question, though. Can poly use creep in somehow? Somehow. So we have an assertion to check. If debug and if we're going to go here and we're going to say assert it not equal to assert that it's not poly use. Goodbye. Also, we get rid of this now. Okay. That shouldn't go off, but we're just going to run all the tests again to see. So we have at least fixed the dude's thing. Do we see the cowabunga when I... Where's the cowabunga? There it is. Okay, so that's working as expected. Cowabunga. So we could actually move this up. Do we even have... What intrinsics do we have now? That's literally it. There's no polymorphic intrinsics. I actually... Okay. I think this can't even happen anymore. because we took out all the polymorphic intrinsics. Right? These are literally the only 3 intrinsics left. So we can make some gains right here by deleting this code, assuming that that's fine. Yeah, I mean, like, I've spent a small amount of time in Asia, right? And it's very clear to me from how much time have I spent? If you don't count like Thailand and stuff, which is just a whole different situation, right? If I add up all the time that I've spent in China, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, it's probably about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Japan, I've spent a few weeks in, very different, right? It's clear to me that I don't have any idea what people think from day to day there, right? It's like I said, I would have to live there 5 to 10 years before I even kind of started to get it, right? So like, that's why I shouldn't have a strong opinion about almost anything because I just don't know, right? So I definitely, I've had conversations with people in all these places, and people have very different viewpoints on things, and that much is clear, right? But like, even for me to attempt to explain why people have certain viewpoints on things is kind of condescending, right? It's like, look, I don't know why people say what they say or why they think what they think, but then also they probably wouldn't tell me honestly what they think because I'm just a dude who's visiting from the US for a couple of weeks, right? So like, just part of the problem we have in the world today is there's way too much like low quality talking about serious issues. And we need higher quality talking about serious issues. And in this case, like in, politics involving many Asian nations, I am completely unqualified to say anything. So I won't. And I wish other people who also weren't qualified to say anything also wouldn't say anything. And then I think things would be better off, right? Like we just need to turn down the noise dial a little bit. Also, I need to dump out this tea. It wasn't horrible, but I'm dumping it out. It wasn't good. I mean, I see how people could like it, but it wasn't good. Yeah, I think we're going to go with Mystic Mint next. Okay. I do, however, think it's lame that they changed Maverick's jacket for Top Gun 2. I think that's pretty lame. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Because Maverick's an American, all right? I can say that about Maverick. Okay, so this didn't go off. which is good news. That means we can make some more gains right here. Bam. Gone. Excellent. So the question is, this thing that we did here, which is great, this is great, but can we catch this even earlier? Because like we ran a solve, but we knew the arguments were polyuse prior to the solve. So like I should try to push this sooner in the process, I think. The question is, though, maybe that doesn't cover all cases, but it would be faster for the cases it does cover, which would be good. So we got to go back a little bit in where things happen. This is type check arguments helper. Wait, what? Okay, type check one overload. So I think I want to check for polyuse out here. So we have argument list. So we have sort. So we call sort arguments. I mean, we could check the unsorted arguments, honestly, as a very early. Let's just try that. Like, we don't even need to collect overloads. Wait, that's resolve hold on. What the hell is this? Oh, that's some really old stuff. Okay. See, really, oops. What is going on with Emacs? All right. I think we put that there. Okay. Oh, but we didn't cowabunga. Really? Oh, yes. Okay, hold on. There's no get substitution. So I don't necessarily like the substitution. Okay. Cowabunga. But we have an assertion failed in the names matched to declarations. I mean, I guess we should fill that out. It's like yeah, okay. This is just saying, hey, we're exporting this stuff. We're trying to export this stuff to the metaprogram, and you didn't fill it out because you exited early, right? So actually, I guess what does sort arguments get called? That's in resolve. Potential overloads. That's in. Okay. Yeah. So the problem is I was trying to skip the entire overloading thing. So I have a choice of how to solve this or how to complete what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to move the checking for a polymorphic argument as early as possible and eliminate as much compiler work as I can from this kind of expression. Maybe that's not in reality that important of a thing to do. I don't know. I don't have a good feel for how much time of compilation this kind of thing takes up. That could vary tremendously based on the style of the code. Anyway, there are two ways that I could approach this. One is what I was just trying to do, which is put it before we even look up the overload, so we never even know what bar matches to. The other one could be that we do all the overload work and then we match it on the back end. And I would rather not do that because it involves a lot more compiler machinery in this kind of messy situation that honestly, I would like to simplify that machinery and make it so it doesn't have to handle this kind of a thing. So I think what I'm going to do is the following. Okay, well, I don't know. Like, okay. All of this has implications. I bet this would fail if we have overloads, right? Like, okay, let's just say you're making an IDE or something. I don't like IDEs, but whatever. You're making something where you can click on this and go to the declaration of it. If there are overloads, which actually is not legal for structs, so maybe that's maybe that's fine. But or even if you're okay, yeah, no, this is why this is a bad idea. If you're analyzing the program with your own metaprogram, you want to know what bar is, right, without having to do weird stuff to guess. And if I skip too much of this work, you won't have a way to know. And then you have to reconstruct it yourself, and that could lead to incorrect answers, which seems bad. So I'm going to revert to my thing that I was doing. Okay, hold on. We'll just reproduce. Of putting it in type check one overload. Because this way we do the match, we say, hey, it matches. We call type check arguments. Okay. I think we do it here. I'm actually getting hungry. I also need to decide if I indicate poly use by setting the type or setting the substitution, because I'm freaking inconsistent about that. Oh my God. I just need to revamp all that stuff. I guess I want it to be the type. I don't know. I'm looking for the thing that I just added. Oh, that was in Polymorph. It was this. Okay, we're going to say going to put that tag on it. And then I'm also going to put that here. For all the value bakes. Come on, bro. We're going to do another cowabunga because we like those. And this is not value bakes now. We're going to go... Actually, we don't want to do this here either. This is not the right place to do this. Okay, so we return from here. We do all the overloads. We have one that matches. All right, we're just going to do this in here then. Catch poly use arguments early so we don't have to do polymorph matching work, but not too early, because we need to give the meta program the right overload, etc. Okay, so if this is poly use, we're going to cowabunga, we're going to set I guess we're going to do that. That compiles that. Who knows? I feel like that's going to break something, but I'm not sure. Oh, wait. I forgot to look for the cowabunga. We don't even know if this is working. There is no cowabunga here, guys. None whatsoever. Oh, because there's a different case. This is a struct case. So this one is fine, but remember when I said a long time ago, this thing here calls out and returns, and that's relatively early here. That's, yeah. So it's just, we go through fairly different code if we're making a struct or a procedure. Okay, so here, I do think okay, we need to do the argument sort. I kind of don't want to make this asked polymorph. This is the thing that's bothering me. But like, that's where we put the argument info. Okay, So this passed. That's fine. So this didn't wreck anything. Where's the other one? Okay, I'm just going to put a note here because this is an optimization note, not a correctness note. I'm going to say we would like to skip making an asked polymorph here if one of the arguments is polyuse. That would be faster and cleaner if we can shield all of the polymorph process from polyuse. That would be great. However, that would be complicated, and the focus right now is on correctness. So I don't want to add more complication. Okay. So my temptation now is to check this in. It's not really a temptation. It's probably what I should do. We'll run the tests again, even though I don't think I broke anything. And then, though, after checking this in, I want to look at the other thing. The version of this that supposedly works is internally doing ugly things that are probably not right. It just appears to work. So we need to look at that one too. If I'm thinking about the metaprogramming use case, maybe it'll help to make an example. Maybe. I feel pretty confident in the decision, though. Yeah, how is it September already? Like, I thought 2020 was going to be the year that goes by really fast, but like 2021 just disappeared. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Do we infer types forwards only? Yes. Okay, so we are forwards only with one or two very small things that are understandable by the programmer that help make that a little bit nicer. We do not do Hindley Milner or any of that stuff. It's not over yet. It feels older. I turned 20 in 2 months. Okay. When I turn 20 in 2 months, I will be at a good weight, and I will buy a box of Lake Champlain peppermint chocolate bars and eat them all and get fat again. That's what's going to... No, that's not what's going to happen. I will, however, enjoy the chocolate bars. Okay, I'm going to make some mint tea. Any questions about what I was just doing? This is like... I think this is hard for viewers to understand because we're working on this polymorphism system. It's complicated. The way it works is kind of invisible. You probably have no idea what's going on. But, you know, this is what debugging the compiler is like sometimes. So maybe there's some value there in seeing that. Can there be this poly use case in an actual polymorph that you can't skip in the same function? No, I mean, what's going on here? The poly use case just means the following thing. So we've got an expression like this. When you call this function, for your call to be valid, there has to be a valid type for this argument to bar. It can't be poly use, okay? However, before you can call this, we need to know the signature of the function. And we have to represent the signature of the function somehow. And the problem is the signature of this function has an unknown type in it. That's where the poly use comes from. The stuff that I was just doing was not about what happens when you call the function. It was about what happens when we just build the signature for the function so that you could call it later. This is the kind of thing where C++ gets around trying to think about this stuff by having their weird template syntax where you have two argument lists. We don't do that. I think the way we do it is far superior for many reasons, but it means that we have to think about stuff like this. Do we have named and default arguments? Yes, we do. Do I believe it was worth it to write my own language and compiler rather? Yes. I tried to explain this to some people on a forum yesterday about building your own engine, making your own game engine and or your own programming language. And I said the following thing: if you apply the Virgin versus Chad meme to your game company, which one are you? Right? Which one is your game company? So same thing, like, say I apply that to your question about whether I believe it was worth it to make my own language, right? Same thing. Let me warm up some water. We're going to bring back the cam for a bit, even though I realize the T cam is not as exciting as the Chai cam, but we can up the production quality at some point. I still have some of the tea I got in Taiwan when I was visiting Johnson Lin's conference, who is here in the chat still probably. It's kind of old now. I drank most of it, but it's a little too late. I don't want to drink caffeine, so I'm going to do the mint. But that was really good tea. I was a fan. Have I done much VR? A little bit. The last thing I played was Half-Life Alyx in VR. You just have trouble sticking with a project. I mean, I definitely had a phase where I had trouble sticking with projects for sure. And then just one day I flipped the switch in my head and became the Chad. You just have to do that at some point. Yours got super rusty at the bottom. That's too bad. All right. So I kind of want to look at this is bothering me. So what's happening is the thing that I noticed before, like an hour ago, before we went on and fixed this other thing, is this subscript is returning defines polymorph variable, which is not good, because that means the compiler thinks we're saying that, except that doesn't make sense really, but it doesn't matter because we're not really saying that. But what ends up happening is we make a bar of $t up here. It's not good. It's not good internally what's happening. So I think I want to verify that that's happening and then take steps. I'm also very hungry. So even though I'm on calorie restriction today, when I drink the tea, I'll have 1 or 2 cashew nuts. What's the oldest dated comment? There might be something from 2014 still somewhere. Maybe. Let's see. 2014. There we go. November 9, 2014. So if I'm turning 20 this year, that is the year. That is just after I turned 13. Actually, if there's code reuse from another project, there might be... Nah, there's nothing older than that. Do most tea kettles suck? What is your quality metric? Oh, you just mean in terms of rust and stuff? Can I explain a bit how polymorphism is implemented at a high level? I mean, basically, what you want to do is make a function or struct that's like Mad Libs, where you have blanks for the types or whatever variables, and then you fill in the blanks, right? And so you just need a way internally for your programming language to know what the blanks are and how to fill them in. And there's a lot of different ways that you could decide to solve that problem, right? C++ does it a certain way. D does it a different way. That's mostly the same as C++, but is, nicer in some ways. The way I'm doing it is kind of different. It's very vaguely inspired by my experience with the language Standard ML of New Jersey, which I played with in the early 90s. And that has much more of a functional language approach to things. And it means that I wanted a sort of unified way to do this where polymorphism wasn't a big deal. So, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about that. I don't know. Like, that's just a very high level thing to say. I don't know if that's helpful at all. Sorry you lost your job. Is Collins Aerospace, do they like do stuff for, I don't know who Collins Aerospace is. Let me look that up. It's always rough losing a job, but sometimes it leads to good things, right? You move on and you do something better. They have their share price on their homepage. That doesn't seem good. It's like in big letters at the top of the homepage. So just like working on experimental aircraft and stuff is what it looks like. That's cool. I always want to learn more about that kind of thing. All right, the tea is probably steeped. I accidentally poured it not through the strainer, so I'm going to go strain it for a second. The teapot still smells like Valerian Dream, or Valerian Dream. It's kind of gross. All right, mint tea. We're getting down sort of toward the bottom of the mint. You notice it's kind of dusty down there. It doesn't taste as good anymore. What do I think about the rich drama? Don't. It's stupid. Just you're better off just paying attention to higher quality information sources on the internet. Yeah, I think programming is still a growing field, right? So anybody with experience shouldn't have that much trouble getting a job, mostly. I mean, there is a thing where as you get older, it does get harder because people are like, why are you still a programmer and not like an upper manager when you're 50? So that's a thing. But all right, I'm going to have a couple cinnamon cashew nuts, and then we're going to investigate. Because programming is tight. I agree. But they don't know that, right? Chebyshev polynomials. Yeah. I've heard of those. I've never done them. My dad actually did flight control systems for military aircraft. at one point. Can't you still be a senior individual contributor? I mean, you can, but I don't know. Like, from the outlook of a company like Google, for example, just to take a random large technology company, you're just more valuable to the corporate structure if you can manage a bunch of people than if you can program, right? Because they value all programmers as being roughly the same. I mean, whatever, right? That's not really true, but that's their model. Like they don't understand that there's 10x, 100x, and infinity x programmers institutionally because they mostly don't have them. And if they did have them, they don't allow them to operate at that level of efficiency, so they wouldn't know. Did I have a hard time transitioning to managing people? I never totally did that. Like I kind of manage people a little bit, but honestly, like if my entire job were to be a manager and I saw the way I do things, I would fire me, right? I am not, objectively speaking, a very good manager because I spend most of my energy on other things. And that's just the trade-off I choose to make, right? I mean, I'm a very good manager in some very specific areas that are very important. So for example, or maybe it's more producer type of things, like making sure that the game comes out feeling a certain way and that we don't do things that violate that, right? Like that involves some kind of management of talking to different people in different places and like understanding, you know, what they're doing right now and how to change what we're doing to aim it better and all that stuff, right? But like I don't manage people super closely from day to day. Would I say Jeff Dean is an infinity? I don't know who Jeff Dean is, so I cannot leverage an opinion. Okay. What do I do now? Oh yeah, I wanted to look at this, this thing. This thing. We are here. Not there, here. Here. And this is going to be in line 10, and then we have to make sure it's not a false positive. So actually, we actually know where this goes. It says struct dereference. Resolve struct dereference. So we can get even more specific. Okay. So we could go here, I think. And I think we just have to filter out. Look at all these breaks. Delete, 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 delete. We'll leave the rest of them. Okay, so ident name. Ident, oh, we don't have ident. T. Okay, this seems right. Let's make sure. Binary load info short name. Binary L0 line 10. Okay, great. This is what we wanted. Now, we're doing a bunch of junk because we're a super slow compiler, except somehow we're still faster than most other people. Okay, here we're saying it's polymorphic. Okay. This is kind of wrong. Oh, except we do substitute it anyway. Then how did we... What? Oh, you know what? I bet we don't actually have a problem. We since deleted the place where I put the breakpoint, but this is actually fine because we're going to go down here. We're going to set poly use, and it's fine. So I believe what happened was... Actually, no, I'm not sure. It could be that what happened was I was looking at the value in the debug window and it had like a substitution or something, but I didn't see that substitution. Maybe. Although maybe that's not that likely. Maybe I'm confused about what's going on. It sure looks like we did that correctly to me. Let me go to here. What if I just do this? I forgot what this was called. This thing. Boy, this has been a pretty long stream because I was looking at this. I feel like 2.5 hours ago. Let's see. About that. We're 3:10 into the stream. All right. So we're just going to see if that pops. I feel like it might, but maybe it won't. If it doesn't, then I'm going to chalk it up to me misunderstanding the debug output. Did I already delete? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got rid of the 3333 because that was right below. Remember the thing where I was saying, oh, I was blind and ignoring this piece of the code? The 3333 was right below there. Yeah, these are other things. Why is it faster? We optionally use LLVM, but we also have our own backend, which is much faster to use, but doesn't support everything that LLVM does that we need yet, but will. But also just the rest of our compiler prior to the back end is just still much faster than most other people's compilers, right? Like LLVM doesn't compile the whole thing. We do almost the whole language, and then we hand it off in the back end. All right. That's pretty good. That assert didn't go off. So I'm going to chalk this up to misunderstanding for now. I am still going to be going back and revisiting polymorphism and simplifying it. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that in the future. If I see that it still looks weird, I'll continue to investigate. But for now, I think the conclusion is that we are good. Okay. Let me delete that thing that I just put. And we probably have some other no check-ins, right? Let's see. Yep, that was our earlier thing. All right, that is gone. Fixed. What did we just fixed? Fixed. Incorrect errors. Error message. Unknown types in a polymorphic procedure header. Yeah, we're just going to leave it there. I mean, we could get more specific about this, but not that worth. Commit. Boom. Okay. I will send a message to the reporter of the bug saying this is fixed in the next beta, which is great. Okay. I don't want to ship a beta tonight. I think we'll ship it tomorrow. But we could look a little bit more. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Oh, I want to do this thing with enums. But before doing that, we could continue looking at, we have this polymorph error that was reported. And I don't know if I want to do this one tonight. I kind of don't. You know, okay, hold on. Once again, we should make a repro case for this. Struct invocation using polyuse, all right? Something like that. I don't know what that's called. We're just going to make sure that this works because we need coverage. Okay. Compiling. There we go. So we're just going to check that in. Just got a little more coverage. Then Whoops, I didn't mean to control C that. We're going to see what happens here. T-cam. Oh, dang it. I like the T-cam, I guess. What are you going to say about that? So my plan currently is to ship the next beta tomorrow night. So that's when you'll get a fix for this. Unless I get a wild hair and decide to ship it earlier. We have enough to ship one for sure. There's just one or two more things that I want to get in. Because this beta is relatively like, unless you care about one of these specific bugs or you're using modules key map, which very few people probably are. Most people are not going to care about any of this except the people who specifically reported these bugs. So I always like to make a little bit of progress that actually affects something. So like last beta, there was like this. This beta, I think I'm going to make enum plus constant not give you a frickin' type error. Right? Like, I think that should just be a thing that you can do. One more cashew nut. Those are pretty good because they're not sweet. They're just cashews with cinnamon on them. And it just tastes different. Thoughts on enum arrays? Array my enum int. Does that not work? No, so I'm pretty sure that does work. We could try it out. What I probably tried to do the other day was like I remember something about I was going to try to dimension an array and like use the dot syntax for an anonymous enum member, and like of course that doesn't work because it doesn't know where to get it from. Let's see if it doesn't work. Maybe we make it happen. All right, let's go here. Fruit is an enum. Apple is 0. Banana is 1. Cinnamon, cashew is 2. And chartreuse is 3. All right, so we've got our fruit. I don't know. That works. Oh, you want the enum type. Are you saying you want fruit of string? Well, you can do the following, right? You could do this, for example, run enum hi, or let me see what the best way is. So you can call one of these things. Yeah, you could say like enum highest value, or whatever, right? Got to import basic. So you can do that. With enum arrays, you'd be able to index with enum members. The thing about that is the type would have to live along with the array. I mean, like if you pass that to a function. Okay, there's two things that are confusing. So one, if you pass that to a function, it has to be willing to like auto strip the enumness, because almost none of your functions are going to want enum arrays, right? That part's fine because there's no real cost to that at runtime if the index is actually 64-bit, right? Like if you had an enum typed array, you're sort of implying that the size of the index is the size of the enum. And I don't think we want to do that. Not in this version of the language. There's like a future modification that could be super huge. But like for now, so I think that might be really confusing. What if enum is whatever? Then you shouldn't do this. This is a very specific construction you would use if you're assuming that it starts at 0. Yeah, if you have an enum with arbitrary values, you need to map them somehow. There is a natural mapping. So this thing here, these enum values functions, give you an array that has all the values of the enum. So you could just say what index is it in this array, and that gives you something from 0 to the number of things, right? So you could just call this to give you that information. Yeah, so I kind of don't want to go there yet. Like I see what you're saying about the benefits of it. I agree that those would be cool, but like I kind of feel like there's problems there. Actually, the problems are not that big necessarily. I should think about it more because the thing is, so the count would not necessarily be 8 bytes. But it's still really the same size data structure because the pointer is still 8 bytes. So it's still going to pad out to the same size. I mean, unless we get rid of padding, which we might do. So that's actually not that, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And if we had to cast it to a different type, when you pass it to a function or something, we're not changing the data members. We're just changing the index field, which is a relatively straightforward. That's something that I would be fine with making a cast. So it's actually not that bad. How about, I'll just think about it some more. It might be totally reasonable. The question is just, there's all this weird stuff, right? Like, okay, so now I make Apple minus 1,000. I mean, are you saying that the enum array should remap this? I kind of don't like that. Would the name spacing and polymorphism rules translate into C++ style name mangling? I don't know what you mean by that question. Name mangling is about the linker, and I don't care about the linker. I think linkers are trash. We stay away from the linker as much as possible. I mean, no offense to people who work on linkers, right? But like, the linker is an idea that made a lot of sense in 1970. It doesn't make a lot of sense today, the way that they work and the way that they're inserted in that compilation model. It should require linear enum values. See, that's weird too then, because I don't know. We just need to think about what would happen in those cases and whether there's something that makes sense and is simple and all that. Is there? Yeah, you can call C++ functions right now. That's fine. We do it all the time. It's just if your C++ code uses templates or whatever, then you're not going to be able to call it from here or probably just about any other programming language in the universe. Oh, if that's what you mean by translating into name mangling, then I mean, our approach to that is just you type in the mangled name when you define the hooks. Yeah. So the question is, do I call this Miller time or do I keep going? It's sort of the Chad thing to keep going. It's also the Chad thing to go read a book, though. Casey sent me an email about another game, and I'm like, which one is that? I sent him an email about a game a couple weeks ago, and I forgot. What is the book? I'm reading St. Leibowitz and the Wild Horsewoman, which I had never read. I feel like I was asking yourself, what is the Chad thing is bound to ruin your life at some point? It might. Maybe. You know. Okay. Let's at least take a look. There's some chance that this thing is automatically solved, but I don't think it is. I think it's still a bug. And I seem to remember that the solution was going to be extensive and that I wasn't going to be happy about it. So what's going on is we're doing this value bake here. And I'm trying to remember because it was like many days ago, like 5, that I looked at this. And so much has happened since then that it's just paged out of the cache. So this shouldn't match both of these overloads, but it does right now, or the compiler does an error. And the reason is, I don't remember. But the thing, I remember that the thing that I had concluded was that to make this work correctly, I was going to need to call okay, yes, so I remember. So the thing that type checks stuff like this, again, stuff like this, does not correctly take note of the cast counts. Or no, that shouldn't even matter actually. Now I'm not sure. Okay, hold on. Hold your horses. It probably doesn't record the cast counts correctly, but maybe that's not even the problem because so this is thing, right? This should match thing comma thing to bool. Like that just doesn't seem that hard. I'm confused now because when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it's a cast count problem. But it's not. This shouldn't even match that. So it's like thinking it's probably comparing this versus this with these being polyuse somehow. Well, let's just start looking at it. I'm tired enough that I don't necessarily want to solve all this tonight, but I think it's this one, and the whittle overload matches doesn't do anything. Yeah. So the question is, why did both of these match? All right. So a potentially smaller poly, but I don't want more polymorphism bugs. I just want everything to work. Okay, so this is checking against line 5, which is, oh, wait, what? Against line 3. Oh, right, because it's an overload set going in. Okay, this one should match. That's fine. This one should not match, but it does. So let's see why. And I think it's because we're just doing t comma t. Which sucks. Let's just see what the archetype is here. Ugh. Oh, actually, that doesn't look bad. Oh, wait, no, that's the given type, sorry. Damn it. So this is polymorphic. I can tell from the pixels. That's the real problem. So last time I was looking at this, I think I was not paying enough attention. The problem is, at the time that we're doing this bake, oh, yeah. Okay, according to the current semantics of this programming language, which I think I'm going to have to think about, when you call something like this, we bake all the variables in one step. First we solve, then we bake them down. Problem here is this one has a variable depending on another variable, which is actually not allowed right now. I had to disallow that. I feel like we're going to want to support that in the future, but it's just going to complicate things to try and support it now. And like I said, the emphasis is on correctness, not doing everything. Like, you know, we go through phases. Sometimes we add features and more cool stuff. Sometimes we find out all the consequences of those things that we added and are like, oh, I don't know, man. So this is a thing where actually earlier this year, I put in checks for a bunch of stuff like this to make sure that it gets caught. And I don't know why this doesn't. Probably because my checks are a little too simplistic. Or because I broke them and or took them out. But needless to say, yeah, this is not good. So, like, in order for this to work as written, you would have to kind of do two passes where you do a pass to solve for t, you bake that in, and then you do a pass to solve for this, which sounds fine. Like, okay, you could do that, right? But you got to remember, because this is a constant, other arguments could use that, right? And then you end up with a recursive long set of stuff that one thing depends on another thing, depends on another thing. And it's very messy and will make polymorphism very complicated. And maybe there's a way to simplify that. I haven't had time to think about it. If there is a way to simplify that, we would look at supporting it. But I just don't want to go there right now. So the rule right now is you're not allowed to have a variable dependent, like a polymorph variable dependent on another polymorph variable. So this is not a legal declaration right now. However, we do not tell the user. I wonder if there's a maximum useful recursive depth. That's not really the thing that scares me. The thing that scares me is just making the solver loop more complicated than it is at all. And any amount of recursion would make it more complicated. But again, like I said, maybe there's a way to do it that won't make it much more, or maybe there's a way to do it that'll simplify it beyond what it is. We'll see. The problem isn't really defining other included functions like this. If I delete this $sign, this is legal and it'll work now. The problem is literally just that. The problem is the bake. I just don't remember where this other error message is that is supposed to catch stuff like this. That's not the right one. I don't think it's this one. No, that's a comment anyway. That's for enums. I'm just going to look around for this error message that I vaguely remember adding, and it may not exist anymore. I could have deleted it. See, July of this year, I did a similar thing where this tries to use T to define return type. For now, I'm going to take, we'll do that in version 2 attitude. Default argument values that use polymorphic variables cannot be auto-baked. Okay. So we're only checking this in default values right now. And we're only checking for struct. So this is a much more limited check that I need. So here we're just saying, is it a polymorphically dependent struct, which we're just saying if it's the type of a polymorphic struct. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why I didn't feel the need to check for functions here. Maybe I need to. And the default value isn't the only place we need to check. We need to check the type as well. I mean, honestly, I think this could be simplified to say because we were doing this polyuse stuff today, I think we can just say if this is polyuse Or this is polyuse. You can't do a bake. Now I want to sleep on that. I don't want to try to program it right now because it could get hairy. But I believe this is the solution, and I just need to look at the right place to put it tomorrow and maybe clean this up. Without the bake, it would act as a function pointer with an indirect jump rather than potentially inlining. Yes. But there's other stuff too, aside from just the inlining question. Like, you can do stuff with constants. It would act as a constant with respect to all language semantics, right? So you can do stuff that you could only do with constants. Although with constant procedures, that isn't necessarily that much. But you could, for example, because it would be a constant, you would know it at compile time. So you could put a run directive in the function that calls the procedure at compile time, right? If you wanted to. That would be a wacky thing you could do, which you wouldn't be able to do without the $sign. Would one solution be to have those types of things at the end of the building process? I mean, you could try that, and that's the way it used to be. The thing is that, again, like another argument could use return type in some way. And so then you need another step, and another argument could use the type of that argument, and then you need another step, and it just never ends, right? And I think once the language is mature, making it do that kind of thing is probably a good idea. But right now, while things are still in flux, and, you know, my priority right now is to make the language solid, build out the user libraries more. Like, I need to go back to GetRect and do some stuff, because we want to expand the beta to more people. And so, you know, trimming the features a little bit in cases like this, I think is the right priority to make for now. Anyway. I think that's it for tonight. Do we want to raid somebody? Let's go see. On my low-calorie days, it's no surprise I get a little tireder sooner because my body doesn't want to do stuff. That's why I don't think it's a good idea long-term, but it's working for me for now. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Some people tell me that when they do fasting stuff, they get more alert because in the ancestral environment you would find food or whatever. Maybe if you did much more extreme fasting, but like, I don't ever feel that way. Okay. Let's find a good place to send people. We've already basically rated everybody that there is, right? Streamtown. Do you want to go to Streamtown? I'm going to send you to Streamtown because streamer games are so silly. And you guys can take over the Streamtown and totally pwn it. And I'll see you guys later.